Alright, let's see if this is the one. We'll find out. Okay, puts down this Apocalypse now. No idea what he's doing next turn in that case. Could play America Chavez here. Abandon this square. He's not snapping, so he doesn't seem all that confident. Nice. 2 cubes for me. If I draw Iron Man... Okay. Blue Marble plus Iron Man. That's 3, 4. That's only 8. But I also have Squirrel Girl. Is this the play? Let's try it. That was the play. Beautiful. It's just a roll of the dice, right? Who gets luckier with the Quantum Tunnel? A move deck? Well, I got a good start. If I get another good one here... I was like, maybe I can just do like a snap and get a quick concede. But no. He ain't conceding. We'll figure out soon enough if he can set up his move plays. This is gonna make it harder for him with the Morag. Maybe I should just snap. Then I can get 2 cubes with a concede if we go to the next turn. Yeah, let's do it. Put the fear of God in my opponent. I'm already winning this lane. And this lane. He can't play Heimdall here. Because that's 6 power. He can play... Oh! And there we go! There we go, people! It's so easy! It's the easiest game of my life. And there we go. Boom. Look at that. Look at that. Infinite. Infinite, infinite, infinite. Voila. Check it out. Bam! I posted my first impressions video on the 9th, and that was recorded 2 days in advance. As of recording today is the 15th, which means it took me 8 days from installing the game to reaching Infinite. And I did it with a very bog standard Pool 2 Kazoo deck. Here we go, see this? So this is the deck I use to hit Infinite. It's fine, right? It's super fine, it doesn't really matter. I'm almost gonna say that it doesn't matter what cards you use. Like, obviously it matters to an extent. Like, Kazoo is a pretty decent deck, but it's very basic stuff. See, here's the thing. Maybe a decade or so ago, I dabbled, I'm gonna say, in internet poker. I played quite a bit, studied a lot of poker philosophy, and as soon as I sort of installed Marvel Snap and started playing it, it didn't take long at all until I just got this feeling for the flow of the game that, like, oh, this is just poker, right? This is just poker. Marvel Snap. And as soon as I realized that and started applying the old poker philosophy from a decade ago, I started climbing the ranks really, really fast. So now it's time for me to explain to you how I did this. So let's start the video for real, shall we? Hi guys! As you just saw, I am a novice Marvel Snap player. As of this recording, it was literally 9 days ago that I started playing. But I've already managed to hit Infinite, while using a fairly standard beginner deck. Now, full disclosure, I am a long-time collectible card game player. I have a history of playing Magic the Gathering and Hearthstone, primarily. But more importantly, I also have a history of being an online poker player. And as soon as I started playing Marvel Snap, I immediately noticed that there are similarities, like big similarities, between Marvel Snap and poker. So having spent a lot of time studying poker philosophy, I started testing if these lessons were applicable to Marvel Snap, and holy hell, yes they are. As soon as I started thinking like a poker player, instead of as a collectible card game player, I started racing up the ranks. To illustrate what I'm talking about here, let's do a quick overview of how you play Texas Hold'em, the most popular variant of poker, and I think you'll quickly see the similarities yourself. In a game of Texas Hold'em, each player is dealt 2 cards. You look at your cards, assess if you want to stay in the game, and then there's a round of betting. Some people will stay in the game, some people will fold. In Marvel Snap terms, this is turn 1. Then, The dealer will put down 3 communal cards on the table. You can combine these 3 cards with the 2 you have to create a poker hand. At this point, you don't know what cards your opponent is holding, but you do know what's on the table and what sort of hands your opponent could possibly make with them. Say, for example, there are 3 hearts on the board. If your opponent happens to hold 2 hearts, they can now make a flush, a pretty strong hand. Once the 3 community cards have been dealt, there is another round of betting. This is turn 2. If there are still players in the game, another card will now be dealt. Then another round of betting. This is turn 3. And finally, if there are still players in the game, a 5th card will be played, followed by another round of betting. This is turn 4, the final turn in Texas Hold'em. Unless everyone but one player has folded, this is where the cards will be turned over, and we will find out who can build the best possible 5-card hand with a combination of one or both of the 2 cards in their hand, and any of the 5 community cards on the table. In each of the rounds of betting, it is entirely possible that none of the players involved want to make a bet. If everyone opts to not make a bet, a new card will be dealt without the size of the pot increasing. This is also the most normal way a game of Snap will play out, with neither player snapping in the opening turns. But if one player makes a bet, then their opponent must match that bet if they want to proceed with the hand. If they don't have confidence in proceeding, they are forced to fold their hand. In Marvel Snap, this is represented by either proceeding after your opponent has snapped, accepting that the game will now be for twice the stakes, or forfeiting. It's also possible, if a player makes a bet, that another player will raise, signaling that they want the game to be for even higher stakes. In Marvel Snap, this is represented by snapping back after your opponent has snapped, now putting pressure back on the person who initially raised the stakes. As you can hopefully see already, there are some very apparent similarities between the way a game of poker plays out and how a game of Marvel Snap plays out. So if you understand the nature of one game, you can absolutely take some of the lessons learned from that and apply it to the other one. This is exactly what I did, and I'm going to create a series of videos showing you how you can apply poker philosophy to Marvel Snap to take your game to the next level. I'm going to cover things like bluff snapping, reading your opponent, understanding and eliminating variance, calculating probabilities and comparing them to pot sizes, dealing with tilt, and many other lessons from poker strategy that are applicable to Marvel Snap. And the very first lesson that I'm going to cover in my next video on the subject is the single most important thing that is currently preventing you from being able to climb the ladder. And that bit of knowledge that I'm going to impart on you is don't be a calling station. And that lesson is up next.